This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Hello, welcome to Stock Box. Joining me today is Mark Sales, CEO of First Class Metals. Hi, Mark. Great to have you with us today.
Thanks, Pam, and it's really good to be interrogated by you as opposed to Mark for a change.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to interrogating you. Having a quick chat with you today of what's happening with First Class. First of all, you're in Canada right now. You're speaking to me from Canada. You were just telling me off camera that you've been really busy out there. What are you up to? What's going on out there at the moment?
Well, it's been a crazy few days since I got here. I'm back in Thunder Bay at the moment. I got into Toronto Thursday night, and I came up to Thunder Bay on Friday for some meetings. Then I headed up to Armstrong, which is the nearest town to Zigzag Lithium project, because the White Sands First Nation had their powwow on. So I was invited to go to the powwow. And that was really good, traditional dancing and a lot of good PR and networking. And I sat round what's called like the eternal fire and threw tobacco on it for the spirits. Then back down towards Thunder Bay, stopped in at the core yard to look at some of the Sunbeam property core. I'm back in Thunder Bay today. I've got meetings with other First Nations groups. I even put my face in at the Thunder Bay Ontario Prospectors Mining Day on Saturday quickly and talk to some of our peers and service providers there. And then tomorrow I'm heading east towards Hemlo on to one of our properties, site visit on one of our properties tomorrow. Then more First Nations meetings, and then back to Thunder Bay next weekend, and then up to Toronto for 2 days of meetings with, again, potential investors, etc. in Toronto. So, yeah, it's been a crazy busy few days, but so far I'm really pleased with the progress we're making.
Sounds very productive. Busy, but very productive. It sounds like, you're going to all the key places and making the most out of the trip over there. But thanks for sharing that with us, Mark. It's good to get an insight into what's happening out there. But let's talk about your recently released RNS. So the last time that we spoke to you here at Stockbox, you just started the process with 79 Resources. You were looking at purchasing property. They were looking at purchasing properties from yourself. 2 of your properties have now sold. This is the McKellar and Enable properties. They've now been sold for £270,000. Now, you say in your RNS, and I quote, that 79 are continuing to do due diligence over other FCM assets. Now, what is it that they like about your assets, and what have they got their eye on?
Well, we put 5 properties in the data room, and 3 of them are obviously still there. I don't think it would be correct for me to tell you which ones they are, but by deduction, I'm sure people can work them out. I don't want to say we do things differently, which is one of actually 79's punchlines. We do things differently, we do things better. But they were attracted to First Class because of the management team, because of the technical success that the team has had, and also the prospectivity of the projects that we have. They've settled on McKellar and Enable as an initial ones. Yes, they still have access to the data room and the other 3 properties, so we're still discussing potential interest going forward.
Okay. Well, in terms of the 2 properties that have been sold, is it a complete sale, or will First Class retain any interest either operationally or through upside potential?
No, it's 100% sale.
Right.
We will transfer the claims out of First Class Metals Canada Inc. into their SPV or their Inc., Canadian Inc. In due process. That's part of the deal. And we don't retain anything. However, of course, they have asked, and we've agreed that there will be a transition period. For example, I met with the Page Platte First Nations on Friday as soon as I arrived here in Thunder Bay to explain to the First Nations that First Class had sold the properties and to introduce 79th Group to them. And I know 79th are really big on their ESG, so they will take custody, shall we say, of the relationships now with the First Nations going forward. And I'm sure that they'll do a sterling job.
Yes, yes. So what do these and the future sales actually mean for First Class? What will you be left with to drive down that exploration and value path, or will it be more of the same? For example, taking prospective projects, demonstrating potential and selling them on?
That's always been our business model, Pam, and I think we've now successfully proved it. And the two that we sold at a significant upside to what we've spent on them and what they cost us on the books, shall we say. What are we left with? Well, we're still left with some. We're left with the James's big four. We still have them. We still have North Hemlow. We still have Essa. We still have the Sunbeam property and Zigzag. So we've got no shortage of prospective properties. And of course, we recently added Kerr's gold project over in Timmins, which has an almost 400,000 ounce resource on it. So we've got no shortage of properties to spend our funds on to progress those, value add those. And also, we're not just talking to the 79th Group about these properties.
Right. Okay. So you are talking to others as well.
Yes, I'm heading across to the Hemlow area on Tuesday, tomorrow, and I will be meeting with people over there on one of our properties.
Right. Interesting. We'll be monitoring your progress there and look forward to speaking to you more about that at a later date. But let's just chunk down some of the figures that you've mentioned in the RNS. So there's £270,000 from the sale of the two properties. You also mentioned in the RNS that there's a £230,000 drawdown facility entered into with 79 Group over a 12-month period. So that's around £500,000. How are you going to deploy these funds moving forward, and where will the money be used?
It's always been our strategy at First Class to put as much money as possible into the ground in order to de-risk, value add, obviously boost the share price with news flow. So we will always focus on putting any funding that we have into exploration, into prospecting, into property reviews, and trying to keep the G&A to a minimum. Right.
Okay. Now, we do know that with First Class, you had a recent setback regarding the suspension of shares. What was it that caused this to happen?
Okay. We were actually poised, ready to release our audited accounts on time. However, there was an unfortunate delay in the 79th deal. The peer review of the auditors felt that, being as we had mentioned the deal in the post year-end highlights, that they felt that we should conclude the deal before they were prepared to sign off on the accounts.
Right.
Once you involve the lawyers, the days dragged out. And as soon as we concluded the deal, the auditors signed off, the accounts have been tagged, and I would anticipate that we will be trading very, very soon.
Right.
It was just bureaucratic and negotiating delays, nothing untoward.
Yeah. But you are looking to commence trading, as you just said, then very soon. Can you be a little bit more specific on that?
You mean we're not already? Imminently.
Great. That's great, Mark. Now, it's the field season over in Canada. Are you quite active through this season? Do you have a work plan moving forward? Any milestones that we can look forward to?
We will be focusing on the gold aspect at the moment. So that's North Hemlow, Essa and Sunbeam. And that's one of the reasons I'm going over to that area over the next few days to discuss with Emerald Geological Services how we're going to progress the exploration going forward. Ideally, I would want to see some stripping on the Dead Otter zone as a precursor to a drill program. I don't want to put dates around those things, but that will be the focus. we're pretty much where we want to be on Sunbeam. We've done the stripping there. We've done a core review of the Terex core, as well as we've done resampling on some of the New Insco core. That will be in the laboratory shortly, I hope. I had a look at the core yesterday myself, and I'm quite buoyed up about the re-review of the Sunbeam property. And I stress property because don't forget, on Sunbeam, it's Roy, it's Pettigrew and Sunbeam, and as well, Terex drilled some of the peripheral prospects as well, like the road zone. So we must be careful when we talk about Sunbeam property. We're not talking sensu stricto about the Sunbeam mine area itself. So the Sunbeam property still holds an amazing fascination and enthusiasm as far as I'm concerned. And I say we've pushed that forward with resampling of the New Insco core in order to further expand this mineralized porphyry, which is hosting peripheral to the main shear zone. So Sunbeam, we're getting close to where we need to be. But as far as the dead otter trend is concerned, which, as you know, has a 19.6 grammer, one of the highest grab samples, we would believe, in the north limb of the Hemlo area, we want to do some stripping on that and bring that forward towards drill ready.
Wonderful. Well, it's been great speaking to you, Mark, and just hearing a little bit more about exactly where you're up to. I do hope that you enjoy the rest of your trip out there. Of course, I know that you have a very busy schedule, but we look forward to catching up with you again soon here at Stockbox.
Thank you very much for the time and the patience to listen to me.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.